I'm joined with Glenn Jessome from Silver Tiger, who's always a fan favorite to have on at these conferences. Glenn, thanks for hopping on.
How are you, Steve? It's great to see you. I laugh when you say something like that because I have an 18-year-old and 20-year-old children, and they just shake their head and they say, "Dad, you being on videos on social media at your age is just wrong." So I have a lot. They give me a lot of gears about this, but it's a good way to tell the story.
Well, look, there's a particular following in silver, especially when it comes to silver investors. Now let's just talk about these markets in general. Gold has hit all-time highs in something like 12 of the last 14 days. Silver today, I believe, hit a 14-year high. It's a pretty positive time for you and I to be chatting. What's going through your head right now?
Well, I'm going to tell the story, and I told this earlier this morning. My business partner, who's been doing this even longer, 30 years in Mexico, built a lot of mines, and we were reminiscent. Well, we were at Denver at the airport having breakfast because on the way in here, we slept the night there, and he looked at me and said, "Do you remember?" And it's only a couple of years ago, Glenn, when either you or I said, "Can you imagine what our lives would be like?" I mean, it would be unbelievable if we ever got to $2,000 gold. And both of us at that time said, but that's never going to happen. Oh boy, it's it's almost unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's amazing. It's amazing. And for those making metal, the money we're making and the money we will make, it's what you build a business for, to make money.
So I know that you don't have a crystal ball, but of course you're following everything that's happening in the world. I mean, the events just this week
Oh
that
my,
we've been.
I don't even want to, some of it was disturbing yesterday. It was a bad day for democracy and the free world yesterday. That's all I'll say.
What in terms of where you think we're heading? Do you think that we're going to consolidate around here? You think we're going higher? You think we're toppy? What do you think?
I'm not going to be that guy that makes those predictions, but I've come to become very good friends, and you may know him, with a guy named Florian Grummies. And Florian did the keynote speech yesterday morning at breakfast and he charts everything. And so I've actually got to know him well. We do a little fireside chat sometimes, and I record it, and it's got a great following, but I let him talk. But I'm going to give some of his talking points that really I've learned from him. We're almost at 90-1 on the silver to gold ratio still. Silver always comes to these bull markets. I've learned that from him later in the cycle. And he said something to me that just was so powerful. He said, Glenn, in the last two bulls, and he's been charting them that whole time. He said, in the last one, it went 30-1. And the one before that, it went 15-1. We're still at 90-1. So I just put in my calculator. I get people to do it. Go look at what the price of silver would be. I'm not going to say it. I know what it is. At 15-1, and go, oh boy. Yeah. And it still has room to move, just on the basis that ratio will, before this is over, will shrink. And that's only good for silver.
So silver goes to triple digits here in the next couple of years. Does that mean that Glenn Jessome retires and we don't get you at these events?
That means I build this open pit. That means I build that underground. That means we're just starting to explore north and south we're going to talk about. And I don't even know how much money this mine's going to make. It's going to be incredible, but we want to build it, we want to run it, because it will be one of the most, these mines become the most valuable assets of anything on the planet.
There's a couple things I know that you were excited to talk about when you and I ran into each other yesterday.
Yep.
One of those was the U.S. Geological Survey.
Yes, and no one's talking about it. Like, I'm saying, hello. I thought everybody be asking me about it and talking about it in August. Every 3 years, they come out and USGS, republish, big document, the list of critical minerals for the United States of America. That's an important thing. And silver was added in August, and nobody was talking about it. And I'm sitting here going, do you understand what that means? And if you read the document, I read the whole report. The reason they do that and add it, it's not because, the price of silver's up. It's because it is for two reasons: strategically important to the survival of the United States economy, one, and the second one is strategically important to the defense of the United States of America. That's the only reason it's added to the critical mineral list. It's not because everybody needs some. And I went, wow. And our mine happens to be 90 kilometers from the U.S. border, which I thought was interesting. But that being said, that is incredible. And in a world where they look, and I compared it to this in my mind, where we're making 800 million. We need 1.2 billion silver equivalent ounces a year. That's the deficit right now. I don't think they're going to let happen to them what happened to the United States with respect to the other critical minerals. Um, I mean, China has the axe over the United States head, in my opinion, with respect to negotiations. Because if those vital minerals that China has control of for the manufacturing in the United States, it's going to take a long time to catch up there. I think they're getting in front of that with silver. That's my thought process on it. But that was big news. I haven't heard anybody talking about it, and I think people should pay attention and read that report and realize what that might mean for this metal.
One other thing that you mentioned yesterday when we bumped into each other is that the Saudis are now buying silver.
Look, I've been to to Saudi Arabia and Dubai uh, in my career to talk to them about gold and silver. And they get gold. They do, and it's important to them as an investment. And silver, they supply it. They're like the biggest supplier of silver because they have the exchanges there. But silver, as them making an investment in it or investing in a silver mine, it was a zero. And that's just the way that it worked there. The Saudi Wealth Fund, I think it was last week, came out and make their first massive purchases of silver. And that resonated with me. I mean, you know, first of all, they've come to that point where they're saying, wow, this is an investment grade product. We need silver. Like Americans are making it a critical mineral. We need to start stockpiling it like they do with gold. And what was, most interesting about that, think about supply demand. We're now at a deficit, 800 to 1.2 billion. They can buy unlimited amounts, and they started last week. Keep an eye on what they're going to buy. I think that's incredible. There's something really energy coming with respect to silver that I think is going to take that 90 to 1 or 88 to 1, whatever it was in the last couple of days, closer to what it was, 30 or 15. Oh boy, it's going to be a fun year.
And it's not going to be gold dropping to 1,300 bucks.
No, it's not going to be that.
Okay, let's talk about what's happening with Mexico
Yes.
and mining. You were the only person I've talked to, and we talked to lots of companies there in Mexico who talked about Claudia Sheinbaum's list, where she removed, I believe it was a 0.87 from her mandate.
Oh, that was long. Lots long past.
And so I know you follow this closely. What's happening in Mexico right now?
Well, look, it's what we noticed last fall after Claudia's government came to power is very pro-business, very responsive to us as Canadian foreign investment companies, and dialogue, not daily, if not daily, weekly, with the Minister of Mining department, with Department of Economy, just wonderful. We were told pretty well in November that our investment was important to Mexico, foreign investment, and by the government, and that just be a little more patient, and the new permits were going to start, and they were going to start issuing amendment permits. Well, she made a speech in January where she said Plan 2030, laid out her mandate. She was going to become a top 10 world economy. She was going to go from 11th in the world in foreign investment in 2024, increase that. So she would move up that list and become a top 10 world economy. I always thought that would be part of her platform before she was even elected. So it was nice to see her say that. And there was a big part of that speech about mining and that it was going to be a big part of this foreign investment. We felt great. Proof is in the pudding. 63 amendment permits have been issued in Mexico since January 1st. Some of those were massive permit amendments. If you look at what Alamos got at Mulatos, they mined out the pit, an amendment permit for a 2,000 ton per day underground operation. Mag Silver got a new portal for a new mine. Core got a bunch. Those are almost all done. So very positive. The messaging that started coming to us probably a month or so ago was that new permits were getting ready to be issued and more patience required. We're doing our work as they should. Social, environmental, governance, make sure all the things that are required to have a world-class mining deposit move to production are being done. We do that in Canada. I would expect that's what they're going to do. And she made a speech, it's about a month and a half ago, and it was all reported on, so anyone can go find it. And it was really a speech targeted at mining in Mexico. I just will paraphrase. I don't want to quote her or any of those things, but the gist of it for us listening to that speech, and we listened to it very closely, was um, we are, for strategic reasons and for investment in Mexico, for the betterment of Mexico and the Mexican people who she represents and should be representing and getting the best deal she can for them, we are going to issue permits to foreign investors so that they can basically extract metal in Mexico for the betterment of the Mexican people and the country of Mexico. Beautiful, positive message. What I really paid attention to was there was a second part of that message. This will include and the strategic permits for open pit mines also. So I was wonderful. So, the process has been going very fast with our permit amendment. As you know, we have an under 800 ton per day underground, amending that for the open pit portion. And, I am proceeding with everything we're doing on the mountain with respect to the open pit, that we will get our permit amendment very soon, and we'll just continue to build this, and within 18 months, the open pit portion will be in production. So I'm very, I don't lose any sleep about if, it's just when, and I think it's very close. I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay, so the one thing that I've kind of noticed, your stock. Okay, first off, your stock's up 300% since this time last year, which I take full credit for because I interviewed you last
Steve,
year.
if I had not met you, we'd be flat.
Yeah, you'd be flat. Maybe negative. Maybe negative.
We could be down.
I'll take more than the 300%. Okay, but the theme I'm noticing here is that a lot of the stocks that are out there, they're getting held back a little bit by financings. What does that look like for you guys? Are you guys gonna raise money anytime soon?
No, but let's talk about value, okay? We're way past drill holes. Let's just talk about that open pit for a minute, and then we got to talk about the PEAs come from the underground, and then the most exciting thing I think want to hear about new is the exploration we're doing north and south. Remember, we have 25 kilometers of the Sierra Madre Trend. Everything we've done and talked about, that 130 or 40 million bucks I raised from bought deal financings over the last 5 or 6 years to get to where we are.
At times when it was really tough.
Yeah, it was beyond tough. and you know that. And I said we would build an open pit mine and transition to an underground mine, and we would develop a district. I bet you 3 years ago, there's a lot of people saying, man, he's a nice fellow, but he might have hit his head. Like, what's wrong with him? Because there was a lot of negative news around that. But we've proven to be right. And not that I want to, we had to be right for the team. The team was right. And now we're ready to build that open pit and transition to that underground. But let's talk about what we have. Everything we're talking about is 2 kilometers of 25 that are the same. We're going to come to that, all right? But I got to talk about that pit, because that was a hill I was going to die on. And the economics on that are incredible. That's why we're driving value. Sure, we're all going up a little bit with the price, but people are recognizing that open pit, 86 million capex. I'm going to borrow 110 million. I've got that debt done. I will sign that deal pretty soon, not yet. So the money is there. It's an 86 million capex. It's a 9-year mine life. Now that's only 60% of the ore that we've optimized. We got another 40%. We'll push that back after 9 years. The numbers on that today at spot, I did it yesterday just because I wanted to feel good about our team and the project. It drives a 580 million US NPV today. 77% IRR. Payback is 1.2 years. But in the 9 years, we make 800 million USD after tax free cash flow. Like almost 100 million US. That's why that had to happen. And that's exciting. Now, look at value. I love where we're at now. We're talking Canadian now because we trade in Canadian in my world. So we're trading at somewhere around 350 million market cap. That's a beautiful place to be. It's about 0.35 of the NPV for the pit. You get the underground, you get the blue sky for free. But let's just talk about real value. What I think is going to happen is we're going to get our permit, and then we will re-rate just on that NPV on the pit. People recognize at these prices, of course, to about 0.5 or 6. So that's the next value proposition for our company. The permit we're not going to $2 or $3 on that. When we build, we will. But I think we're going to go north of $1 Canadian, and that's a very good place to be. We don't want to backfill, and then we're going to build it, and then we'll trade someday at 1.2 or 1.3 NPV on the pit alone, like our peers do. So that's exciting, and we've got the team to do it. The money's lined up to do it. We're going to get the paperwork we need, and we're going to do that. But we haven't sat in our laurels because we're going to come out here with a PEA sometime in the next month or two. we're optimizing that. People look at a PEA, and I've been saying, I'm trying to get it out because people want to see what the underground looks like, the economic test, because we got more ore already underground than we have in the open pit. And that's only in the 2 kilometers around the old mine. There's various ways we can look at that. Are we going to have a big mill, a little mill? How quick can we start production while we're building the open pit? All of these things are going through my mind and the technical team's mind. And we're going to come and we're going to land on, there's the first economic test for that underground component of the project, which will be long life. And people are going to see that very soon. Do I think that's going to drive the value like the permit would? No. But it's going to show people the business plan is evolving. Big open pit, low capex, easier, high cash flow than build a big underground mine. And that's been exciting. But I think something we should talk about, and I don't know if we have before because we focus so much. We're now going north and south. We got 10 kilometers north and 10 kilometers south. It's almost the same. And I don't know if we've talked about that, Steve. Have we?
No,
Oh,
we haven't gotten into.
this is fun. I want to tell people first, because we're not going to have enough time to get into it. I like to lay out my plans where everybody can see it, either in video or in press release. So I put a press release out a couple of weeks ago in August. It's 10 pages long. Don't read the headline of that. People who are really interested, shareholders of Tiger, or they want to know what I'm going to do over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, north and south, read that document. It's the business plan for it. Now, 2 kilometers, everything we've done was the El Tigre mine. We get in there in 17. That old mine produced 100 million silver equivalent ounces, 2.5 kilos, 1910 to 1930. The Americans went home. Silver was 10 cents. And we went in and we got underground, and we mapped and sampled the underground, and we drilled it, and then we did an MRE, 3 of them, and a PEA, and a PFS, and another PEA. That's how we do it. So now what we're going to do is the exact same thing to the north. Why? Because the company that owned the El Tigre mine was called Lucky Tiger Mining Company. Pretty original name. They really didn't have the bandwidth. They built a town of 3,000, that big mill. They had their hands full. They owned the 3 kilometers of concessions, which we have, just to the north. They loaned it to the North Tigre Mining Company, another American company. And from 1910 to 30, they built the North Tigre mine. And the North Tigre mine basically had their own mill, their own town, smaller. But we've gone in there in the last 3 months. We've been in a 1.6 kilometers of underground, mapping and sampling, getting ready to do exactly what we did at El Tigre. We're ahead of it because when we first got there, we wanted to test to see if it was the same. We drilled 10 or 15 holes up there. I mean, go look at the results. They're in that press release. I've reported them from 17, 18, or 19. We drilled up to 10 kilos. The Cayley vein was the highest grade vein we drilled on the mountain, even including at El Tigre. So drill rigs will start up there 3rd, 4th quarter this year. It's going to be exciting. And then if you go south, for the other 10 kilometers, we've now been down there. We've mapped it. It's really greenfields. I think the north is more brownfields because we've done quite a bit of work there so far. There's 3 more mines there, Luvidor, La Mancha, and Toro. They were all the same vintage as Tiger. We've been in them. One's about 500 meters of underground. We'll get down there next year early, and we'll start doing the same thing. And in, the goal of having some drill rigs down there, maybe by the end of the first half of the year. So now, what I didn't talk about is focus on getting to a point where you can build a mine that's going to generate that type of money. And now let's go north and south. And once that money flows, have 5 or 6 or 7 drill rigs to the north, or 6 or 7 or 8 drill rigs to the south. And this is going to go as we always thought it would be. The district scale potential is now time to talk about that.
Last question for you, because we've gone a little bit longer than we were supposed to. What's the long-term vision here? Is Silver Tiger going to be a producer?
Absolutely, 100%. Look, I get this question all the time because there's so much M&A in Mexico. Like you could see it changing last fall. Silvercrest, 1.6 billion. Gatos, so I think it ended up with more than 40% of First Majestic.
I think it was just under $1 billion.
Yeah, $1 billion, but not for all of it. It was just a portion of it. Then you had, we saw the Mag Silver deal, like a 43% cash flow from Juanicipio. Pan American paid a couple billion for that. Prime, $500 million. Like they're just at resource stage, and Torex bought them. So I'm getting all these questions. And you're the last man standing. I intend to be the last man standing for a long time. I'm gonna get that permit, and the true value is to build that pit and then show the potential of that underground. Start drilling north and south so everybody sees you as a district, and I think the valuation is going to be incredible. But I have no intention now of selling. Look. Our group has built 1, 2, 3 mines in Mexico, even before I joined over the last 30 years. We sold 3 more to majors. They buy permitted or permanent build projects. They don't buy drill holes. So you never plan to sell. If it comes along, it comes along. We always do exactly what we're doing now. Get this thing to production, because that's where the real biggest return is for everybody. And that's what we intend to do. So we've got the money, we're going to have the piece of paper, we've got the team. And I never ever thought we'd be building this at $3,600 gold and $42 or $43 silver. So sometimes your plan gets a little bit of good luck at the end too. So that's a nice thing.
All right, well, Glenn, thanks so much for sitting here and doing this with us. It's always a pleasure.
Steve, it's always a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you again.